Hello everyone and welcome, Kami-sama here back with another video, and this is a new section of the channel called What's Next. And today I'm here joined by the CEO of Axie Infinity and the Ronin network, the man itself, Jihoz. Jihoz, I'm super excited to have you here. How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a while since we did one of these, so yeah, excited to sit down.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. You already told me that you want to speak Spanish, so maybe more into the video we can do that as well for the people.
For sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll give it my shot.
So let's start like really chill. We just want to know, like, are you guys cooking something right now at Sky Mavis? Are you guys working on something exciting for the future?
Yeah, I mean, right now, like everything is all hands on deck on the Ronin side, getting ready for Open Ronin, right? So as you guys know, like over the last couple of years, our strategy was to like go with quality over quantity, right? Like make sure that we're bringing the right projects on. We feel like we've learned a lot and exposed and introduced a lot of really good projects to the community. But now it's time to like really open the floodgates, right? So we're sailing to the Grand Line. We're going to be opening up Ronin in Q1. So everyone right on the Ronin side of things is really focused on that. On the Axie side, yeah, I think like we're gonna see something unexpected, maybe announced in Q1. So I think like with Axie, the last year was really interesting, right? Like we saw the launch of the Brownie board, right? Like I think like we started to see the numbers and the metrics start to increase. We start to see people see the longer term vision of Axie and like its role within the overall ecosystem. So
yeah, I saw you guys were partnership with a lot of new projects. That is exciting as well. So before we dive into the questions itself, there is one question my community wants to ask you, and that is, do you prefer Classic or Origins? And this is really a really fun question because we want to know why.
Well, Classic is like our baby, right? Classic,
yeah. I mean, let's be honest.
Right?
Both of them are like your childs, but sometimes daddy prefers one child than the other. Let's be honest.
So, what I'll say is like I think Classic has a lot of emotions attached to it, and like it was obviously the thing that got us to the next level.
For sure.
So I think like right, in terms of right, Classic is called Classic for a reason, right? It's like the thing that people think of when they think about Axie. And Origins, like I think Origins has done a really interesting job like finding its role within the ecosystem, right? Like Origins actually produces a lot of revenue for the treasury. It's great for burning SLP. So Origins is really good for the economy. Like we also like tried things like Metamorph, right? So for me personally, I love playing Origins now. Because I'm able to use my Mystic Axies.
Are you playing Origins?
Yeah. Well, I play, I play a decent amount, from time to time. I also have scholars like kind of piloting or operating my account. But for example, yesterday, right? Like, I want to give my scholar like a little bit of a, easier Christmas. So I'll play the account myself. I'm playing like spikes with my my 3 Mystics.
Just having fun. Yeah, just having fun.
Mystic. And so for me, like what I like about Origins, I can use my Mystics, right? But of course, like Classic, we have to tip our hat to Classic, right? Because that's the one that put us.
It's more like on the competitive side, right? Like Classic is more competitive, and I think Origins it's a really addictive game. Like you cannot just play one game of Origins. You need to play and play. I mean, the next game button, it's like poison for me, dude. I cannot stop playing. It's just pressing the button and pressing the button and pressing the button, and then it's like 2 hours, and dude, I need to stop pressing the freaking next game button. So yeah, but of course I'm a Classic guy as well. So I'm happy to see that we are in the same page. So, well, you already talked about the current state of Axie Infinity, but can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, how you feel both games are doing right now? Do you think they are doing good compared to a couple of months ago?
We're starting to see actually like both games just recently crossed 100,000 DAU.
Okay. Cool.
So I think like basically what we're seeing is a lot of people, right? Bitcoin going up, right? AXS and SLP are starting to do better as well with the market turning. I think a lot of people coming back to Axie. We're getting a lot of people saying like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, why are people making offers on my Axie? Oh, like the Nightmare event looks cool." So we're starting to see, right, like a lot of people come back in as well as like a new generation, right? For example, we had the Axie Adoption Center, which basically allows anyone who's new to Axie to apply for their own Axies, right? And so they apply, right? They get delegated some Axies, and if they progress for far enough, they actually earn their own Axies. And we have actually had too much demand to handle for that. So, thousands of people are applying to get their first Axies. So, yeah, I think like there's a new generation that's being introduced to Axie. Right, like the Nightmare event showed that hey, like we're still like innovating and trying new things with Axie. And then the bounty board, right, is like some system of like, okay, wow, can we make like the rewards distribution more effective and more efficient within Axie?
Yeah.
So
No, for sure, for sure.
I think
People is showing more interest in Axie right now. Don't you think like, I mean, specifically Origins, it's like kind of like hard to get into the game because as of right now, if you want to play, you need to be aware of the whole ecosystem, right? You need to be playing like Homelands, you need to do the bounty board, you need to be aware of how like eras work, Rare era, Epic era, Mystic era. Don't you think it's like kind of hard for new players in that sense to compete? I mean, you can play and have fun, but to actually compete in the game.
I think it's hard for new players to compete at a high level, right? Like in any game, right? But I think like that's how it should be. Because if it's too easy for the new players to compete, then there's no incentive to go deeper into the ecosystem,
Gotcha.
right? So what we want to make it is like, okay, people can play the game, they can play more casually, right? They can do maybe like the standard bounty board, right? And as they fall in love with the ecosystem, right? Like we have to educate them and allow them to kind of step by step go down the rabbit.
I was asking you that because of the esports. Actually, let's go back like more in time, the time where we used to have the World Cup and the AxieCon. At that time, there was a lot of esports going on, and then there was nothing to play. Now with the coming back of Classic, we have the Lands event that happened in the Philippines, and now there is going to be one here in Latin America. But what is going to happen with the competitive esports scenes of Origins?
I mean, I don't think that Origins necessarily is like really a good fit to be like a super competitive game. Like, let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
I think Origins is more like it's fun. It can be like more. It can be like. It doesn't mean that it's not a complex or interesting game just because it's not competitive, but it's not really necessarily built for the tournaments and things like that. We have to be honest with what kind of game this has turned out to be. But I think like, what is the point of making a game? What is the point of making a game to be an esports, right? That's one like valid mechanism for attracting viewers and new players, but that's not the only valid way. So I think what we really see is like Classic is more tuned for being like more of the competitive game with the tournaments, and Origins more kind of on it's more about like the progression and deck building and
like connecting with the ecosystem itself, right? Like having everything together. I feel like,
for example, like one way to think about it is like Origins much easier to have like Axie core integration, right? Like we can have the vertical progression, we can have the level 2. That's all really good for the economy. That's really good for AXS utility as well as SLP utility. Classic is a little bit harder for us, right, to do the Axie core integration because like there's so many like competitive balance implications. So
yeah. But well, the level 2 parts are doing quite well, if you ask me. Of course, they are not implemented in ladder right now, but the way they are handling this, I think it's right on the spot. It's really good. Well, let's move into the next question. If you could go back and change one decision Sky Mavis has made in the past, would you change anything, and why?
I mean, I'm the kind of guy who thinks like, right, everything, even the mistakes that we made, is necessary for us to get to this point. I think like maybe last cycle, right? Like we could invest even more in education, right? Like, okay, wow, we onboarded so many people, right? Like, making sure that people understand like cryptocurrency and
Which is hard.
all the implications, right? I think like maybe investing even more in education, is potentially one thing. But yeah, it's hard to. I'm not like the type of person who like think about like, okay, if I could go back and change something or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm always like, let's go into the future. Let's go into the future. Let's make the right move right now.
Yeah, and you guys are like pioneers. Like no one before of you guys did something like this. Web3 is such a new ecosystem in the gaming world. So yeah, I understand why you say that. So what motivates you to keep working on such a demanding project like Axie Infinity and the Ronin network itself?
My motivation. Well, I'm like a competitive person, right? Like
Yeah.
I want Axie to go down in history. I want Ronin to go down in history, right? I also feel like such a deep connection to the community. Like I want to help everybody, right? Better themselves, better their life, learn about this new technology, right? Like Sky Mavis' mission is to introduce the entire world to blockchain via gaming, right? And we believe that crypto is the answer to a lot of the problems that are happening in the world. And if we can introduce people to that via gaming, which is like more of an approachable package, then we think that we're doing significant good in the world, right? So It's like kind of two things, right? It's like I'm very competitive. Two, like I love the community and want to help you guys win. And then three, right? Like we think that we can do a lot of good in the world by being pioneers when it comes to actually teaching everyday people about crypto.
Perfect. Now, I'm happy to hear that because, I will ask you some questions related to that, to the blockchain technology. But first, we are going to move to the next section of the interview. There is a quick fire round. Okay, so I'll ask you 10 quick questions, and you have 5 seconds to answer each one. Whenever you're ready, you say it, and I'll fire.
All right,
you ready? Okay. So, favorite blockchain project outside Axie Infinity?
The Beacon.
One word to describe the future of Web3 gaming. Come on. 5 seconds. Let's go. Okay, into the next one.
Dynamic. Yeah, dynamic.
Dynamic, perfect. Most underrated feature of Ronin. Feature
of Ronin. Most underrated feature? I think it was like the vertical integration, right? Like all the decks, the marketplace, the wallet, they're all like specifically made for gamers and games. So I think like the fact that the infrastructure is made with gaming in mind, like I think that's one of our key advantages.
Play to earn or play to rise?
Play to rise.
Play to rise all the way down. Okay, perfect. Biggest challenge for blockchain gaming in 2025?
I think like it's competing against things that aren't gaming, right? I think like competing within gaming is easy for Axie, easy for Ronin, I think. But when we have to start like competing against other sectors of crypto, like some of them are easier, right? Or like, maybe more like quick money, right? Like I think that's like one of the complications and things that we have to keep in mind.
Well, one thing traditional gaming does better than Web3 gaming?
I think right now the gameplay, right, for traditional gaming, right? I'm playing Path of Exile, right? Like we still have a long way to go, like to get to something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. I mean, making games takes a lot of time. Favorite Axie part? This one is really easy.
Axie body part?
Yeah, Axie body part.
Crimson Gecko.
Crimson Gecko. Cool. Mine is Hamaya, so I love Japanese art. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hamaya has a sick like level 2, right? Because it turned into the axe.
Into the axe, yeah. But I like the level 1 part. I think it's quite cool. How many Axies do you personally own? I know the answer for this one.
It's like 1,500, right? 1,400?
It's close to that. Yeah, close to that. So the best game you have played recently, not Axie.
I played Fableborn, man. That was really fun. The
Fableborn. Yeah. Okay. Fableborn, yeah. Sure. Yeah, I played it quite a lot.
Yeah, that's my in Web3. In Web2, like or traditional game, right? Like I've been playing Path of Exile a little bit over the last week.
A little bit, or you are like try harding really hard?
Nah. I'm only level 15, so.
Yeah, sure. I mean, those kind of games are really addictive, so. That's why I'm asking. Axie Infinity in one sentence.
Nostalgic, cute, revolutionary.
Nostalgic cute. Why nostalgic though?
Yeah, because Axie is like it reminds you of your childhood, even though it's something totally new. I think that's like part of why it's so powerful.
Okay, well that's cool to know. I mean, if I
And also, right, like the crazy thing about Axie is there's already people who feel nostalgic about it,
about
right? Because
Classic,
they've been
bro,
playing for 5
like
years, right? Yeah.
the best thing that happened to Classic was to leave and then to come back. Like
Yeah. It's like it was hype, right? Like if we just left it, right? Like it wouldn't have been as good as like it's like when Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan came left and then came back. That made it more hype, right?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. So we're now moving into the controversial topics. So these are more kind of serious questions, and we want to know: do you think the initial hype of play to earn did more harm than good to the concept of blockchain gaming?
I think it was needed. It was needed for blockchain gaming to even become like known by anybody. Before Play to Earn, the number of blockchain gamers was maybe like 200 or 300.
Yeah.
So it was needed. Of course, it has some flaws, right? But that's like everything in crypto. Like you need to make it better over time. Just like airdrops need to be improved over time.
Yeah.
Consensus mechanism need to be improved over time. ICOs need to be improved over time. Basically, everything in crypto starts out very primitive and then like gets better over time.
Do you think the repercussions that it's having are doing harm to the game right now?
I think like if there was no play to earn, then Axie would have never like Axie wouldn't be around anymore. It wouldn't have never have been able to work or scale or like we would not have been able to keep working on it.
It wasn't even needed. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Should new developers prioritizing gameplay experience over the financial aspect of the games?
I think you need to have both. You need to have a good economy and you need to have a good gameplay. Like, I think of course you need to have good gameplay. That's table stakes. That's even like if you want to even be considered like legitimate, right? You need to have good gameplay.
But if you're coming from zero, you're totally new in the Web3 ecosystem. What would you prioritize?
I would think about like the game economy first, and then come up with the game that suits that. Because I think like you can always find people who are good at making games. To be honest, there are so many good game developers out there. Actually, like games are kind of like pizza. Most games are decent, right? But if you attach it to like a game economy, right, that's when it becomes special for Web3.
And for me, most of the public in Web3 are not really gamers. I mean, we have gamers, of course, but most of the people are also investors.
Yeah, it's a new type of gamer, is what I would say, right? It's a new type of gamer that has like different, new needs compared to like old school gamers.
You were talking about this at the beginning of the interview. Is blockchain technology truly necessary for every aspect of gaming, or are we seeing an overuse of the term to attract investments?
I don't think that every game right now needs blockchain. I think that like there are certain types of games that like are good fits for blockchain. It's like mobile games, more like free to play or pay to win, like gacha games, as well as MMOs. These are things that basically can be elevated by crypto, but like for example, like first person shooter, right? Like esports games, like something like a fighter, right? Like Super Smash Bros. Melee, right? Like it's not a lot of these games that don't need crypto right now. And crypto has a lot of like growing up to do before like these types of games should even think about like integration, to be honest.
Well, what would you say are the key strengths of blockchain technology?
I think like blockchain creates really strong communities via incentive alignment, right? Where if you own one asset, all these other people who own that asset like are building together with you, right? So crypto creates super strong super fans.
Yeah, I've been having this trouble to try to integrate like friends or familiars to these games, because they are like skeptical about the blockchain technology. They think there are scams, or all these kind of preconceived like ideas of what we are doing with the blockchain technology. That's why I'm asking, like, how do I convince people who are skeptical to join us? Because that's what we need to do, right? We need to bring those kind of people in order to bring everyone into the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, usually what I see works is like, okay, right, like you have them try out the game, you give them some, right, like some NFT or some token, like so that they don't have to risk, right? If they're afraid of risking, right, like don't, make it so that they can explore without having to risk straight off the bat.
Yeah,
And they're going to be more open-minded in that type of scenario.
and there are
That's why, for example,
games
yesterday. Yeah, I was like, oh, like give your friends, give your family some NFTs, some tokens, right? Like that's the best way is like gifting.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some games that you actually don't need any kind of NFTs to play, where okay, you can play the game, but also you have this technology to do the smart contracts to buy weapons or buy skins or I don't know, buy cosmetics, things like that.
I mean, I think like what we saw work well, right, is like, okay, even with Axie is like, okay, people first starting out as scholars, right, renting Axies or borrowing Axies, and then they're able to earn a little bit, and then they see like, oh, maybe I want my own Axies. With pixels, right, like people just start playing for free. They earn some berry or whatever, right? And they're able to cash out, and they're like, wow, like okay, this is real, right? So people don't really believe it until they go through the experience of like, oh wow, like I earned some token, like what the heck is going on here, right? So that's always like a light bulb moment for people.
Yeah, and what are the strategies that Ronin have to onboard new audiences? What do you think will those strategies be?
I mean, I think like there's no silver bullet. Like what we have to do is make incremental improvements. We have to bring in new games, right? Like we just announced, like for example, Ragnarok, right? Ragnarok Classic.
Huge IP,
that's like a game that a lot of Web2 users, right? Like they're familiar with the IP, and then if you have like a crypto integration that works, like boom, something crazy can happen there. Like games like Fableborn. Fableborn is like not just a good Web3 game; it's also like innovative in terms of like Web2 mechanics as well. I think like. Some of these IPs that are familiar to Web2 gamers, as well as just making sure that you have like games that are amazing, but then also like have like interesting Web3 economic loops attached to them.
Perfect. And then why Ronin? Like, what are the key features that differentiate Ronin from other leading blockchains like Ethereum or Solana?
Well, the Ronin community, like it's made of people who are familiar with Web3 gaming, right? So if you want to build a Web3 game, like you got to come to where you're going to be able to get some users. Of course, the Ronin community cannot be your only users, right? Yep. But it can basically help you bootstrap a community. And then, of course, right, like we'll love to have you bring your own community, right? Like do your own types of marketing that are more like specific to your game to add on to that. But with the Ronin community, if you have like a good product, right, like you're going to be able to get like, right, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 users right off the bat. There's no other chain that allows you to do that in Web3 right now.
There's one final like controversial question that I want to ask you. It's not about Axie Infinity, it's not about the Ronin network, but it's like about a game that is in the Ronin network itself. So it's about Aperon, right? Aperon, I think it's an amazing game. They have like an amazing team working in the game, but developers of Aperon have openly admitted that they are being artificially pump their token, What's your take on that practice? Do you think it's being transparent about it make it less unethical?
I think like if you're being transparent, I think that's good. You're saying that it's like the token is going up or like artificially, or
yeah, they're like buying their own token in order to pump it.
I mean, I think like, right, that's like basically that's like a marketing fee, right? Yeah. It's like instead of paying the marketing fee on, right, like Web2 ads or something like that, like buying your token, doing a buyback, I think that's like a really good use of funds in a lot of cases. So I don't see it as like they're buying it to pump it. I see it as more like that's a marketing fee where they're making sure that there's some buyers to basically, right, like have it so that there's, right, like if you have good earnings and a good game, right, then something good can happen. I think it's a sign of confidence that they're saying, hey, like our game is good enough so that if we have some rewards that are worth something, then we may have opportunity.
No, I do believe the game is great. I think they lost most of their player due to like timing, to be honest. So timing in the beer market, it was hard to be playing all of the games at the same time. Prices were quite high at the moment. Now prices are more accessible to players, so having the token pump, so that makes it more attractive to new players. So a lot of new players are playing the game right now, and I just wanted to know your opinion if you think that it's actually good to do the buyback. What's one piece of advice you'll give to developers entering the Web3 gaming space?
Well, yeah, you got to be able to build and chip, but you also got to be able to sell, right? Like, so to me, the teams that are really good are they're both really good technically, but they also like are really good at communicating and being close to the community. You cannot have one or the other. You need to combine both.
And the final question: what's next for Axie Infinity and Sky Mavis in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, so for Sky Mavis, right? Like on the Ronin side, we're focused on open Ronin, right? So.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a landmark. I think it's going to be a really important moment, not just for the entire Ronin community, but for the entire Web3 gaming space. It's like a moment of unity, right? Where it used to be we're kind of like this exclusive club, but now, right, anyone can come and build with us. On the Axie side, like, yeah, we have some stuff that we're, getting ready to share with you guys in Q1 to talk a little bit more about the future of Axie. But yeah, Axie is always the next Axie, so stay tuned for more information on that. I think we're gonna go with like a 1-2 punch in Q1 for both like Ronin and Axie.
So excited. Do you want to say something in Spanish for the audience?
Gracias a todos. Yo estoy practicando mi español en el año que viene. Quiero ir a Sudamérica y gracias por el soporte y el amor. Y nosotros estamos trabajando muy mucho. Y necesito construir juntos.
Keep building, guys. Muchísimas gracias, Jihoz. Thank you so much. Well, guys, nothing more to say. Thank you, Jihoz, for taking the time to be here in my humble channel. Remember, guys, to go follow Jihoz on Twitter. I don't know if you want to say anything else on English for the audience as well, so you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, for me, like, if you're a content creator, right, and you want to make a video, like, I'm always down. Like, I think sometimes people are shy, but like, so shout out to Kami-sama. He just asked me, and hey, I'm super available to do like a lot of these types of like interviews with the community. I don't want to just be like doing it with like the media and stuff like that, right? Like, I'm super down to do this kind of like format with community members, and I think like we're exactly where we need to be going into 2025. I think it's going to be a huge year, and I couldn't be more excited. And thanks to everybody for
tuning in. Thank you so much, Jihoz. Like I say, it's my first interview all by my own on English. So
dude, you did so well, man. I'm so proud of you, man.
Thank you so much. I feel really welcome in the Axie Infinity community, and I thank you for that. I thank Sky Mavis for doing all the jobs that you guys are doing. So yeah, guys, remember, if you like the video, go comment, like, and follow, and we are going to do a part 2 of this video playing some classic with Jihoz to see how good he actually is playing his own game. So remember to follow, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.